Hey.
Hello.
How are you?
It's AMA time.
I know. This is one of my favorite episodes to do. So this is the Ask Us Anything. People inside of training camp go in to ask Doctors Derek and Laura, and they pose their questions. And then we answer them all. They have great questions. So we have great questions. Today we're going to answer them all as promised.
It's a lot.
It's fun.
All right, let's get started.
Some of them are super deep.
It's crazy, some of the questions they have. They're very deep.
Okay. Are you ready? This first question comes from our very good friend, MD. One of the coolest parts of DSRP is the reorganization of elements and patterns and the dynamics of how this happens. Is there a physics or chemistry of DSRP?
The answer is yes. If you think about physics and chemistry, is the physics and chemistry of DSRP.
Say more.
Well, the field of physics is doing nothing more than D and S and R and P. Right? I mean, if you think about Einstein's theory of relativity, that was all about perspectives. If you have two people in two spaceships and there's no mediating article that they can sort of grab onto, you don't know which one's moving when this one's moving. Mm-hmm. That's the relativity of it. That has deeply to do with perspective, for example, and the distinctions being made and you look at chemistry and all the bonds and the complexity behind all those bonds and the different molecular combinations, and that if you change one part you get different molecules, and you change the way they're bonded, and I mean that's just part whole. You shift the parts and you shift the relationships and you get slightly different kind of sugar.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. That's interesting. This is from our good friend Sasha. He had just been listening to the idea of MIO, and he asked, how do you know that reality or nature is organized using DSRP? And how did you validate that this statement is not a reality or confirmation bias? Now, that's an interesting question.
It is. It's one that we've taken very seriously. It's certainly one that is always going to evolve in its validity, right? So it's not like we've arrived and we know that everything. But I will say that there's over 200 different studies. I can't remember the last count, but that have been collected across the disciplines, and we've done an analysis across the disciplines and of whether it be physics, chemistry, biology, psychology, sociology, economics, astronomy, business, you name the discipline, and there are things inside of that discipline, empirical work that's been done inside that discipline that shows these different structures existing. And so we've tried to show that these structures exist across the disciplines. Now, obviously, there could be hundreds of thousands of studies. I think AI makes this much, much more possible for us to check this. If you just argue with AI for a little bit and sort of say, is there anything that isn't a distinction?
Right.
Is there anything that doesn't have perspective? Like an example of that would be the physics study that shows that atoms have their own unique point of view in the world, right? Single atoms, which is something DSRP predicted.
I understand that the question is about the research, and we started way back on the existence studies, right? Yes. Can you see DSRP in mind and nature? And one of the things that I have thought about as we've been doing that is, don't just trust the studies. Look around the actual world. Everything that you see in reality is DS, R, and P.
Yeah. In fact, one of the things that impressed me so much about Darwin in his Origin of Species, if you read that remarkable book, one of the greatest books ever written in science, if you read that book, Darwin is so baller. He literally is like, hey, if you don't believe my theory, just find me one example in the world, in the entire world, that doesn't adhere to it.
That is pretty baller.
Right? Yeah, like, and he says 9 different times, he says, if you find even a single example, it annihilates, he uses the word annihilates my theory.
Yeah.
If anyone finds even a single example where this is not the case, it annihilates my entire theory.
Yeah.
I just think that's
cool.
That's pretty cool. And I would say the same thing about DSRP.
Yeah.
Like find a single example anywhere
Of something that does not have DSRP structure. Or a thought that you've had that does not have DSRP structure. All right, there you go. There's your challenge.
Find it.
Try to find it. We want to know if you can. All right, you ready for the next question? This is from our new friend, Uston. I've been playing with Thinkory and Otis tools to explore different topics through DSRP. I found them super helpful as a starting point.
Yes.
What I noticed is that using them made me spend more time actually thinking and connecting the dots on my own. Right? Mm-hmm. Then I trained ChatGPT to do the same research for me, but at a deeper level. What it generated covered more ground, perspective, relationships, and so on than what I did on my own. When I was reading through the responses and had a few aha moments, it took zero effort to find new ideas, perspectives, and relationships, things I hadn't already thought of. It was like watching a gym coach doing push-ups for me. So the question is, which method actually makes us better thinkers?
Yeah, so the answer, I'll give you the quick answer up front, both.
Both, okay.
Both. It's not an either or. The difference is kind of what Otis does and Thinkory does and even AI does, which is what Otis is utilizing AI to do, is it takes a move which is new to you. This underlying structure, being aware of it, is new to you. So you're trying to learn something new. And at the same time that you're trying to learn something new, you're trying to apply it to something that's important or relevant to you, right? Maybe even something you haven't figured out yet. So that's a lot of cognitive load. Mm-hmm. There's new, and also you're trying to solve a problem with it. So what it does is it immediately makes the move, the cognitive move, which is abstract and information agnostic, relevant to you by adding information. The AI can add information. Yes. So you can tell it, hey, I'm interested in skateboarding. Make me an RDS that's all about skateboarding. And then you get an RDS, which you don't understand what an RDS is yet, but you understand skateboarding enough to be like, oh, interesting. That's something I hadn't thought of. Yes. So you then see the value of the move. That relevancy is going to increase your motivation to learn the move. Mm-hmm. And it's also you're going to learn the move because you see it. So if you just type in 10 times as fast as you can, RDS, 10 different topics that you're interested in, you're going to see 10 RDSs in things that you care about.
Yes.
And that's going to immediately teach you why RDSs are important, which is metacognition.
Yes.
You're now aware of RDSs, which is a move.
Which means you'll be looking for them. Which
means you're looking for them, you're seeing them, you're aware of them. The next step is you can't just let these things do the work for you. Like he said, you can't hire a trainer and have the trainer do the push-ups.
Wouldn't that be good?
Right? And part of the reason for that is reality is happening all around us all the time. Mm-hmm. And we don't always have AI with us. Number one, I mean, just to put it in very basic terms, right? We have to deal with reality with what we have in our backpack. And the backpack is this human bag of skin, right?
Yeah.
And so if we don't do that training, then when we need it, we won't have it. And that's called mental fitness. That's the difference between metacognition is I can poke you and get you to be aware of it, but it doesn't change your default.
Right.
And mental fitness is metacognition plus repetitive training. And that changes your default mindset into a mind flow, a more dynamic, adaptable mindset.
Yeah.
The answer is both, inevitably.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. I get that. I like that distinction between awareness and fitness, right? That it's the combination of the practice that actually develops that muscle and makes it fit. This question comes from Claude, who asks, do you have any advice on how to make the infinite complexity that DSRP unveils more manageable. Sometimes I lose track of what's relevant and find myself endlessly wandering through infinite possibilities, especially when I'm thinking about perspectives.
Yeah, I think it's very simple, but it takes practice.